So it's been about 3 years since the last Shantae game came out, which was Shantae Half-Genie Hero, which originally came out for the PlayStation 4, Steam, and on Xbox One, and eventually coming to Nintendo Switch, both in the standard and further on with the Ultimate Edition that came out with basically everything from, you know, Risky's campaign, additional content for Shantae, and also Friends to the End, which was, to this day, I feel like that was the most feature-packed Shantae game to ever come out, and personally for me, I find it to be one of the best entries. It's actually, for me, when I think of Shantae games, it's like one of two titles that just really stick out to me as being the absolute best in the franchise, which this franchise has been going since 2002, and that's being Shantae Pirate's Curse as well as Shantae Half-Genie Hero, with ultimately Half-Genie Hero edging out Pirate's Curse just because there's so much additional content and more that's just there. It's just a fully featured game, and one that I own both digitally and physically on multiple different platforms. Now, here we are, as I said, 3 years later, we've got a new entry, which originally came out last year on Apple Arcade, and I got the chance to play it back then. I thought it was amazing then. As you guys know, I've interviewed Wayforward's Adam Tierney and Bannon Rudis, which if you want to catch that, it's going to be in one of these corners up here and on all available major podcasting platforms. But here we are with it finally on consoles. Now I'm reviewing the Nintendo Switch version. Eventually I'm going to go and pick up the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions as well. But I was provided with a review copy from Wayforward, and shout out to them for giving me a review code for this game, because I'm incredibly excited to finally be able to review and play a franchise that I've been following since 2002. I absolutely love the Shantae franchise, and yeah, I do have a bit of a bias, and it's probably gonna, you know, curb the type of review that I'm gonna do here, because obviously I'm giving it a positive review, which is a spoiler. This is a game you need. But I also am gonna have some critical things that I'm gonna really cover. Like, I'm gonna critique some aspects of the game that, you know, typically I'm not a negative reviewer. I generally only review games I like, but there are some aspects of this game I don't like, and I'm gonna cover all that. Anyway, roll the intro. So, as far as story goes, Shantae and the Seven Sirens kicks off with Shantae, Sky, Bolo, and Uncle Mimic heading to a resort island for a vacation following the events of Half-Genie Hero, where they plan to get some R&R. They run into the mayor of the town, and eventually Shantae is coerced into joining the Half-Genie festival that ends with the other 4 Half-Genies being kidnapped, leaving Shantae to save them and figure out the mystery of the island and the Seven Sirens. That's all I'm telling you, because right now, at this point, if I were to say any more, then I would effectively be spoiling the story. There are a lot of key changes that happen within the events of this game, and if I were to dive more, like I said, I would spoil you. There's at least 2 to 3 plot twists that you're probably not going to see coming. I mean, I sure as hell didn't see it coming, but you probably won't see it coming, so we're going to leave it right there at that. If you played any game in the franchise before, then you'll feel right at home with this game. If you haven't played a Shantae game before, then basically it's a Metroidvania, which is a 2D side-scrolling game that has you utilizing different abilities and items that allow you to reach new areas that you previously could not reach before to proceed onwards. Shantae has a hair whip attack, can jump, crawl, utilize sub-weapons, curative items, and has her signature dance ability that allows her to transform. Typically, it kind of depends on the type of game in the Shantae franchise, because they change it, the formula changed every other game. I mean, you had Pirate's Curse where you didn't do transformations and she didn't really have her magic. And then you had Half-Genie Hero, which was very much centered around her magical abilities. I mean, so is this one, but they changed based on the game. In this entry, she doesn't transform from dancing, as her transformations are based in her abilities gained, such as turning into a newt that can do a striking dash and wall climb, or a spinning turtle that can destroy walls, and a frog that can swim in the water. What you can do when using Shantae's dancing ability, which is something new to this game, which is called Fusion Magic, is the ability to see hidden items and platforms, purifying poison water with the ability to heal Shantae, and an earthquake level screen nuke that can also move platforms around. The gameplay of Seven Sirens compared to half-genie Hero is significantly faster. To the point where I personally had to readjust to the speed and needing to know when to react to the enemies and dodging attacks. The faster speed of the gameplay reminds me of Pirate's Curse, and it will have you feeling right at home running and whipping the enemies and moving forward to the next area. Platforming, which is pretty central to this game, is such a central aspect, and the more abilities you unlock, and you unlock more abilities, you gain new areas you can explore, it all kind of comes full circle. It's the more you explore, the more you can do. And look, let me level with you. The most trying level that you're gonna get in this game that's gonna require you to utilize everything that you've ever learned in the game, every I'd say every single ability, every single one that you have ever learned in this game, you're gonna use in the last level, and that last level is going to piss you off because the amount of chuckle fuckery in that last level, oh my god. Okay, for those who don't know, when I say chuckle fuckery, that's a term I use when it's absolute absurdity. The last level has too many enemies placed in the worst situations, and then you've got too many damn gauntlets, and it's just chuckle fuckery. Okay, back to the review. Let me pull it up on my phone. I'm reading this off as I'm reviewing it. Look. Okay, see that? Review. Let's get back to it. The more you explore, the more the maps will open up and allow you to see how each of the chapter levels are interconnected to the central hub of the town as you gain new abilities from fusion coins gained from the various genies. One of the coolest new features of Seven Sirens is the ability to use monster cards for various buffs to abilities and base stats, such as turning gems into healing hearts or green magic jars, or even increasing the ability of your fusion magic attacks and abilities. You're able to select from any mixed match of 3 monster cards that you can gain from defeating various enemies in the game, or by trading the golden nuggets that you're found in various caves or in chapter dungeons, which you can trade those with various NPC characters in the towns to get things such as like rare boss cards. You can increase your health by finding squid hearts that you can take to the smith so that she can melt them down. You typically find them in caves, which require you to use the various fusion magic environmental affecting dances, as well as transformations to gain squid hearts. To gain 1 extra point of health requires you to have about 4 squid hearts. Side note is that you can find out that the squid hearts that you're melting down for health are actually the nieces and nephews of Squid Bearing, as he says that he has to go pick them up from school and that they aren't too hard to find. And honestly, look, let me level with you. That's a fourth wall breaking mechanic, because it's funny because you gotta pick up certain items. You gotta pick these items up, these squid hearts to gain more life, right? And you get 4 of them, you get 1 extra point of life. But it's kind of fucked up to find that you're effectively killing his nieces and nephews for your gain. It's so fourth wall breaking. I mean, the character of Squid Bearing in and of itself is fourth wall breaking, but that was brilliant writing for the people who came up with that. It's both cool and terrifying to think about at the same time, but I love that form of fourth wall breaking. Okay, back to the review. The game is stunning graphically. The fact that the game is so vibrant and so fluidly animated in its hand-drawn style is just stunning. New to this entry is the inclusion of the animated intro, cutscenes, and ending, all done by the critically acclaimed animation house Studio Triggers. This is a first for the franchise and it is really amazing to see. And while it may not be the most smoothest of animation when put side by side to something like My Hero Academia, it is still a stunning thing to see nonetheless. The visuals of the game in-game are basically the same thing as half-genie Hero, which that's not a bad thing at all, as that entry was the first in the franchise to be in HD, and is still to this day beautiful to look at in screenshots and unbelievable to see in motion. What separates Seven Sirens from half-genie Hero is the fact that Seven Sirens is able to be played and viewed in 4K. If you're playing this on Apple Arcade on Apple TV 4K, PS4 Pro, Xbox One X, and PC. If you're playing this on Nintendo Switch, the base PS4, PS4 Slim, or base Xbox One or One S, then you will get the same game in 1080p, and on the Switch undocked and on Switch Lite, it'll be about 720p. All the characters from Shantae, Risky Boots, Roddy Top, Sky, Bolo, the half-genies, and environments all are animated in great detail and move in a fluid manner that feels like you're looking at your favorite animation in motion. The dungeons are littered with tons of enemies and all look incredible and are vibrant with different effects that illuminate areas that you can explore and more. Now, audio-wise, the music in this good is so good and catchy that you'll find yourself humming the tunes as you play the game. The music for the towns, dungeons, areas you're exploring, and more are so good with their mixing of chiptune and musical instruments, with my favorite theme being the Mine Dungeon theme. It just sounds so good. The voice acting in the game is done well too, as each voice actor matches their character perfectly, with the main character of Shantae being voiced by Christina V, who captures the liveliness of our favorite half-genie. Now, I can't talk about the positives of the game and continue to praise it without talking about some of the negative aspects. In the intro of the video, I did talk about there being some downsides to the game that I personally experienced or didn't like. More so nitpicks with one actual issue, with the rest just be me personally bitching about things I didn't like. But here we go. I don't understand why Risky Boots is fought so many times in this game. While I understand she's pivotal to the plot of the game, I still dislike the fact that the only thing that changes in the 4 to 5 times that you fight Risky are her health increasing and her gaining one new move per fight. I just feel that when it comes to Risky Boots' boss fights, they were overused and made little to no sense to me, as I feel as if they could have been removed, or a large amount of those fights just could have been entirely chopped out, or just replace it with a cutscene with her talking to Shantae. I just didn't see the point in the same repetitious, boring fight 4 to 5 or more times. It didn't make sense to me. I also ran into issues of the game having some slowdown in some of the dungeons when too much is going on, but to be fair, I am reviewing this on the Nintendo Switch and I'm unsure if this is something that is occurring only on this version of the game or if this is something that will be fixed in a future update. I was not at all a fan of the fact that the game is also not fully voice acted, and I know that's a minor issue, but at the same time I find it odd that some lines are voiced and others are just text, and there's not rhyme or reason as to why it triggers to characters speaking and to it just being text. It's just very, very odd to me. I don't quite understand it. The voice to text transitions back and forth, it's jarring to me. I find it very, very jarring. Lastly, I have to acknowledge that it is incredibly easy to get lost in this game, and for some dungeons to feel like they drag on for far too long. The game has no checkpoint system either, so when I first played the game, I found it was odd that I kept running into the same save points, but I get why, as it's the game's way of telling you to save as soon as you see the little old green guy. Because if you don't save, then you're gonna meet the game over screen if you screw up. And honestly, if you hit continue and you haven't saved, you're gonna start over from the beginning of the game. So make sure you save and save often. Lastly, well, I already said lastly, but let me just continue on. Never mind my grammatical errors, but we're going to continue on. The length of the final dungeon was too long. It really has some really annoying enemy placement and environmental hazards that made even a gaming veteran like myself humble. At no point did I ever know when I was close to the end of the dungeon, because it continued to throw wave after wave of enemy gauntlets that just got tiring after the 10th wave. Again, these are all nitpicks that I have with the game, not actual issues other than the slowdown. Now, in the wrap up, Shantae and the Seven Sirens is an incredibly fun game with a lot of variety in its gameplay. An interesting and engaging story that takes a lot of turns you may not see coming, and is a visual stunner start to finish with minimal issues, and for a game that will take you roughly 8 to 10 hours to beat with a new game plus and more, all for the nice price of $29.99, you simply cannot go wrong with this game. I truly enjoyed my time with this game, and while I find Half-Genie Hero and Pirate's Curse to be the superior games to this, I still think that this game is a solid entry and a great entry point if you're interested in getting into the franchise. Shantae and the Seven Sirens is a game you need in your collection. And that's it. That's the review. That's the review for Shantae and the Seven Sirens. It is a game that it's fully featured. Like, you know, I beat it within 8.5 hours. It's a game that I think you guys would really enjoy. It's not something that I'm thinking you're going to power through it, because there's going to be aspects of the game that are going to require you to think, you know. Not everything is obvious. Honestly, quite a lot in this game is not obvious, but stick with it, minus some of the quirks with level design and enemies and enemy placement and occasional slowdown, which probably will be patched out, you know, after, you know, post-launch, because typically when we get, now here's an insider for you guys who may not know this, but when we're giving as reviewers, we usually get the initial build, you know, the initial retail build for games, which we don't get the post-launch, which every game that comes out has a post-launch or day one, you know, patch. So a lot of the issues I'm experiencing and issues that I'm mentioning in this review, you're probably not going to experience this yourself because it's going to be patched out, but I'm mentioning it because it's my experience. I'm just talking about what I went through when I'm playing it, what I liked, what I didn't like, and all that in between. But is this a game that you're looking to pick up yourself? And if so, tell me why. Are you a series vet who's just followed Shantae since 2002's initial entry? Or are you someone who may have jumped on recently with Half-Genie Hero, Pirate's Curse, or even Risky's Revenge? Whatever that is, whatever your thoughts are, let's get the conversation going down below. And yeah, if you guys want, we got an amazing Discord. We got a Discord full of amazing people, gamers, content creators, industry people from the video games and voice acting and more in the Discord. If you guys want to join, link for that is down in the description below. And I want to give a special shout out and thank you to all my channel members, my patrons, my subs on Twitch, and everyone who supports the content that we put out. Like I said many times, I say it on my streams all the time, and I'll say it here. Anything that's invested into me is reinvested into the channel to, you know, provide higher quality content, more content, and just more original stuff that, you know, is engaging for you guys as the viewers, the audience, and yeah, that's the spill. So with that being said, I'm Mekel Kasanova, Hawaii content creator, host of the #1 podcast in the state of Hawaii, the Kasanova Podcast. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and on Sunday on twitch.tv/Mekel Kasanova. It's all right here. It's a beautiful area, you know, just right in this area right here. So check us out over there. And other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Deuces well, too sweet, be the elite. Wayforward, thank you so much for allowing me to review this game. And Adam and Bannon, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the show again. So you'll be hearing from me soon. That being said, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Congratulations. And since you made it here, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Like the video if you enjoyed it. You can always check out MikelKasanova.com. If you want to support the content, we've got Patreon, as well as channel memberships and super chats. And with that being said, this is Mekel Kasanova. I enjoy you guys. I hope you have a great one. Mahalo, and see you next time.